All right, y'all, what's going on? This is Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. Been a while, been a long time, but here we are again, doing it again, and I'm glad to be back, glad to be with you. And man, this is something else, man. Let me start off by this: that we're bringing it back in a whole nother fashion. And so I just want to update everybody on um, how we got to this place, what to expect, and how we're going to move forward. And so, coffee and chat, that's just the original show, the original podcast, and we have um, definitely connected to Twitch along the way. We've also added Facebook, and so definitely want to thank all y'all for tuning in on the podcast. A lot of views via Apple Podcasts and Spotify wouldn't be possible without Anchor, and so thank you for all those that tune in. Continue to tune in, subscribe, hit like, do what you got to do to keep this as a reminder. Put it in your calendar, however you want to do it, but definitely keep this shared and prayed up. And so, blessings to you for all that. And so, let me get into a little bit about this whole thing of how um, we really got back to doing this, and what it took to get back to doing this. Um, and bringing it back both in a weekly format and the live stream with guests and podcasts with editing and adding, show notes and things of that nature. Um, this is gonna be a relaunch, and a reboot of Coffee and Chat. So definitely prepare yourselves. We're in Black Business Month, but I definitely want to say this. Mahatma Gandhi said it like this: action expresses priority. And so I had to take some actions, man. I had to take some actions. Um, the show is going good. We're doing some things. Every now and then, guests would be set up and then they fall off, and not really having a backup. And so, really putting that stuff together and saying, okay, hold up. Let me see where this is headed. Let me see what we're doing. And so, in doing that, these are some things that I had to do, and maybe this will help somebody. I had to reflect, right? I had to go back to what the original intent and purpose was. Like it said, action expresses priorities, and so I had to go back to why did we start this? Why did we get this going? And that was about that inspiration for your implementation. Inspiring stories, inspiring people, things that people have experienced on their journey, and resources, and all those different things that tie into building people up and giving people inspiration. And so I really had to reflect on that, look back, look at what the intent was and the purpose, and really push that forward in my thinking about going forward with this in the future. And so that was step one. I had to reflect, right? And so when we talk about reflecting, you know, I'm not just uh, I'm not just saying this about the podcast. The podcast, those episodes that are still up, but I, I, I wasn't managing the podcast and the live stream like I wanted to, and so I had to reflect about, okay, how am I utilizing both of these tools, both of these mediums, to really um, get people going. And edits of the podcast would be, I would put them on TikTok and Instagram and some other places. And so now, as I have reflected, I see where I could take some other opportunities within that and enhance what we're doing and how we're doing it. In the meantime, I had still been doing, I still continued blogging, so I still got the blog, Rev Roots at WordPress, and that's, still going on. Continued with my golf blog, Like I said, I'm a better writer and blogger than I am a golfer, but I still continue to, put that out there and still continue to try to be a better golfer and break 90 on a consistent basis, trying to do it about 75% of the time. And it's working out. Those things are still out there. I'm still doing um, the weekly Bible study with Pastor Powell on the same YouTube channel, Twitch and Facebook. Still doing that. And I still come back to this. This is about the original intent that I had for doing this show on this channel and through these different mediums, and really helping people get a different feel for their life experience and what it might be. So I had to start with reflection, and then I had to refresh, and I just had to, just had to hit the brakes, shut things down, and develop some quiet time before restarting. It really, taking a pause and quitting are two different things. Taking a pause and quitting are two different things, and maybe this will help somebody. I wasn't quitting. I knew I was going to come back to it. I just didn't know how I was going to come back to it. I didn't know how I would reshape it and reform it and put it in a different context to get back to the original intent. I started with a poet, with Viet Mai, and then I moved on and ended with my own book of poetry that I republished, the relaunch, as the last episode. And so the bookends of Coffee and Chat up to this point were those two bits of poetry. So artistry is still at the center of this community. It's still within this. Inspiring stories from inspiring people is what I want to get across. And as I said before, it's inspiration for your implementation, that you will be able to have some takeaways, some ideas, some pointers, something to walk away with. And so God bless, I had to refresh, and I had to refresh to get a new start, and that's definitely something that I can attest to from sports. I can attest to from coaching in sports. I can attest to from playing in sports, that you've got to, sometimes just refresh. When you're working on a computer and the page isn't responding, go up there, hit that little arrow, and refresh that page, get it started again. And that's what I'm doing right now. And so with Coffee and Chat, we're just hitting refresh. We just had to stop for a moment and get some things together, and now we're ready to roll. We're ready to roll, and we're ready to make it happen. And so I had to reflect, I had to refresh, I had to refuel. Y'all know it. Listen. Yeah, I'm a preacher, and I'm gonna say it like this. This is I'm not on here preaching, but as John Wesley said, our purpose in all things is to please God. I'm still trying to do some things that are pleasing to God. I'm still trying to do some things that are pleasing to God as I do this. And so I'm trying to make it happen to where just by what I'm sharing, people may be inspired and inclined to go deeper, ask more, find out more, not just about the people we interview, but about the things we're talking about. And so I had to refuel. And so, listen, you cannot reboot or relaunch anything without refueling for the journey. You have to build yourself back up. You have to fill yourself back up. And you have to get that energy back to where you can carry on and make the journey. And so that's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm dealing with here. And so you need energy for the journey, and so that energy, that fuel, is what will keep you going when times seem to run short. That energy, that fuel will keep you going when it feels like things are tearing apart. And so I don't know if this is about your side hustle, about your, your enterprise that you're trying to build. I don't know if this is about something that you're just trying to figure out and find your way, but you've got to find where you can refuel and get filled up in order to take the journey so that you can go the distance, that you can go the long distance. And I think that if you take some time to look at it and see where you are first, right? That was a part of the reflection, right? And then understand where you want to go. I think that once you have all that, you can refuel and get built back up, get encouraged, get inspired, um, read, listen to podcasts. That's what I've been doing. Read articles, read magazines, read newspapers, read news feeds. Get on Twitter and find out what the latest is, and keep on keeping information at the forefront of what you're feeding your mind. There's a lot of entertainment out there, but what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your heart? What are you feeding your soul? And those are the things, when it comes down to the deep grind of doing the work, that you will find that you have filled yourself with enough to keep carrying it on. What motivates you? What inspires you? What gives you the things that you need to go on? I'll say this and then I'll move on. Inspiration in biblical terms is God breathed. God breathed, right, into clay and it became a living being, right, that we know as man. God breathed and it became the word, which we know as the Bible. And so when we talk about that filling, you've got to find where you refuel, right? Whether you're Christian or not, or faithful or not, you've got to find what fills you up, right, in order to keep you going. And that's part of the issue. Do you have enough in you to keep going when the going gets tough, when the stuff gets rough, right? I didn't quit. I paused, right? And so I want you to make sure you know the difference. Quitting, my man, father of positive thinking, right? Norman Vincent Peale says it's always too early to quit. It's always too early to quit. And I love Norman Vincent Peale and what he says about the power of positive thinking and things of that nature. But it's always too early to quit. And so I wasn't quitting, I was taking a pause. And so that pause gave me time, like I said, to reflect, to refresh, and to refuel. And finally, I would have to say, it gave me time to do this. It gave me time to refine. Refinement is one of those things that we may not always tinker with, but I'm a procrastinator, right? I'm messy. I got piles of notebooks on the desk, piles of books, stuff spread out. I gotta, fight with myself to stay organized. And so organizing the processes, enhancing the things I do pre-production and post-production to create some consistency, right? On my golf blog, my Breaking 90, I preach that. The consistency is what helps me build the confidence. When I'm not playing consistently or not doing the things I know to do to fix my game consistently, I know I will limit the amount of confidence I can have in myself and my ability. But as I increase the consistency of doing the things that make it work, then I am also increasing my level of confidence. And so for me, I am, a firm believer that uh, this is part of the process. That in all of it, you need to come out with some refinement. That you refine your process, that you refine where those flaws that needed fixing are. It may be that you are a dreamer, but you haven't become a doer. What's going to push you into the point of taking action? What's going to make you make a move in order to where you can go forward and say that you've got something going on and you are there with it and you are able to combat some of the demons that would keep you from doing the things that you want to do. And I'm talking about demons, I'm talking about your own demons. I'm talking about the own things that you have within you that will keep you from doing things. Doubt, don't let doubt win. Stay ahead of it and know yourself well enough to say, you know what, I've got a good idea. Now I need a good plan. And within that plan, I need to address these things which have been holding me back in the past so I can move forward in the future. Don't let the past dictate where you're headed in the present or in the future. Work that out. Make sure you put those things in place that can refine your work and how you make it happen. And so, this is what it is. I have really taken the time to reflect, refresh, refuel, and refine. And these have gotten me to the point now where I'm ready. I'm ready to, entertain more guests on a broader basis. We want to talk about some issues that we haven't talked about. We want to talk about some issues that can help people. We talk about some things and some ideas that are out there that can help people move along in this journey we call life. And listen, this is where it comes down to you. When I go back to the purpose, right? When I go back to the purpose, this is about inspiration for your implementation. And when we talk about it, we're talking about something that makes you stronger, something that makes you operate from a different place, something that makes you come back and say, you know what, this is going to work for me. This is how I'm going to move forward. And have your own mantra, have your own, slogan, have whatever it takes. But for me, inspiration for your implementation is the reason that I do this and a lot of other things I do online. And so definitely tune in next week. We'll be back on 10 o'clock as a normal time. Got guests, setting up and responding. And so thank God for that. Thank you again for tuning in via Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you. It's been working. And don't forget, it's always too early to quit. It's always too early to quit. It is always too early to quit. You've got to continue on this journey one way or another. You've got to continue on this journey one way or another. And I believe you can do that if you take some of these, ideas that I've talked about today and you just simply put forth the effort to make it different, to make it something more profound, to make it something that fills your purpose and allows your potential to explode. And I believe that at that point, great things will happen for you. Hey, you know what? We're bringing it back. Coffee and Chat. Come on, check us out. next week, 10 o'clock. God bless and much love to you. Peace.